It's Thanksgiving this week.
Yeah, it is. Merry Thankmas.
Merry Thankmas.
So thankful.
Yeah. So, something, I've been thinking about this a lot. And something that I'm very thankful for is the release of Persona 5 Tactica before I left work for Thanksgiving break.
I thought you were going to say me.
You too!
But no, tell me more about Persona 5 Tactica. I'd love to hear it. I'm kidding.
Oh no. I mean, I hate it because what could be better than just staring into your eyes at all times? It's cute.
Marriage. Okay, no, seriously, tell me about Persona 5 Tactica.
It's so good.
Okay.
It is so good, Allie. And I have not had the headspace to actually just, dedicate, large periods of time for a game. Because, work is stressful, and we've got to do other things, and we're still doing the thing where we get 10,000 steps every day.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've talked about that on the podcast.
Oh, yeah, we do that.
Yeah, that's something that we do. And so, there just hasn't been time. But this came out at the opportune moment that I can just absolutely no-life this game.
Wow, that's a good thing to be thankful of.
It lets me, zen out, you know?
See, I'm also in a very zen mood right now.
Yes.
Well, I don't know. Zen's a strong word for what I'm feeling, actually, now that I think about it. But I've been playing Harvest Moon 64, and I'm trying to do a 100% all photo run, which is, I'll talk about it later in this podcast, but basically it's 100%ing the game, TLDR.
Yeah.
And I was really worried that I wouldn't do very well, but I actually girl bossed a little too close to the sun, and I completed pretty much almost everything that you need to complete in the game in the first year, and you have to play until summer year 3. So
Summer year 3?
Yes. I'm bored. I'm so bored, and I have to feed these cows every day because they have to love me. They have to love me so much by summer year 3, or else my dad will tell me I did a bad job.
Well, I'm sure he will tell you that you did a great job. And speaking of fathers, actually, before we get to that, welcome to ThoughtCast, the video game podcast. My name's John.
I'm Allie.
And you're going to do a great job with your cows, and your father is going to be proud of you.
Which father? My in-game father, my real father, or your father?
All of the above.
Oh.
And most specifically, we will be hearing from one of those fathers today on the podcast. Maybe not about the cow thing, but my father is going to be joining us today to chat all about his experiences in arcades and games growing up and Dungeons and Dragons and all that good stuff. But you know what the one thing that I think Dungeons and Dragons really lacks is?
Oh, good God.
Music. So let's listen to some. So this week, I'm very excited to announce our guest, who is none other than mine own father.
Oh.
So how's it going today, Dad?
How are you?
I'm peachy. It's all good. I'm excited to be here, although, I don't know. It'll be interesting.
I think I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, this is honestly, out of all of the different guests that we've had, sorry, other guests, this is the one I was looking forward to the most, was you.
Well, hopefully you will when we're all finished, too.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure we will. Because something that we've talked about growing up and something that I've heard about growing up is your time in the arcades. And because we talk about games so much, I feel like we so hyper fixate on, the newest kind of game.
Oh, yeah, we never go retro with it.
No, we never go retro. And I really like retro games, right?
I wonder why.
Yeah. And so growing up with the arcades, what was that like?
Well, The arcades were pretty intense because when they first came out, when, you'd go into a mall
Yeah.
and you'd beeline for the arcade, and you had to get good quick because it was only a quarter, to play a game, but that added up, and I wasn't like rolling in money. So it's like you had to get it quick. And so it got to the point where I could go in, I could kill an arcade for the whole shopping trip that my parents were out. It was a good deal, but oh man, it was exciting.
Yeah.
It was exciting to walk in and you get there and you've got all the bells and the whistles going off and you're looking around and see what's the new game.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool.
What game did you like beeline it for? Because you had to make the most of your money, I feel like you couldn't like bebop to every single game. Did you have like a core like rotation?
When it first got started, or when I first started going,
Yeah.
I mean the beeline was to the pinball machines.
Okay.
And so you start off with the pinball and how long can you get that thing going? But then, that began to expand out. My all-time favorite games in the arcades came back to, and these, weren't right there when I first started, but I loved Pac-Man. I loved Asteroids, Donkey Kong. Well, those were probably the three in high school that I kept coming back to. Were those three. And then as I was getting through that, they'd start with, you'd start to get some of the race games.
Yeah.
And you'd sit down there and you're shifting gears and trying not to kill yourself. And it was pretty good. And then they brought some of the games out where you'd be racing and you'd actually feel when you hit something and you're
just like
going through but no, I guess the favorites were Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Asteroids.
Nice.
Those were the ones I really enjoyed.
I know what arcades are like now, and I've seen movies of like the old arcade experience, but like how does it stack up to what you experienced back in the day? Like I imagine that they were more crowded back then. Now I feel like I go into an arcade, it's empty.
Yeah.
And it's so different.
I don't know. Arcades just don't hold the same magic now. They are basically empty. And I guess that's because we go onto our phones, we go onto our computers and the games are so much more that arcades and man, they're expensive now.
Yes.
It's like $1.50 and that adds up real quick if you're trying out a new game. I'm basically cheap at heart. So, I had to approach the arcades like, okay, this is how much I've got. I've got to make it last.
Yeah. I feel like I inherited something genetically from you because I love Pac-Man with my entire being. Because we would go like a pier when we would go on family vacations when I was little. And, there'd be like the skee balls and, this, that, the other thing. But the one thing, especially once I became a teenager, that I would always want to go to was Pac-Man. Because it's addicting, being able to stay on as much as possible without hitting continue and like getting the fruit and like going through all the levels. I don't know. I am fully on board with the Pac-Man.
Absolutely, yes. And it's funny because your mom and I just went on vacation. I had a marathon that I was running.
Yeah.
And we rented an apartment while we were down there. And in the apartment, they had the retro Pac-Man. So the original arcade Pac-Man game was there. And it's like, I'm going for a high score. And so I spent every time we were in the apartment, I'd just walk by and I'd hit the button. And it's like they didn't charge you. It was just free to play. So it's like, walk past, hit the button. Okay, we're going through. It's like I got the high score before we left. It's like,
Did you?
I'm marking my territory.
Yes. Like pop your initials in and you're immortalized in this like Airbnb or like apartment or whatever.
Like, you people are stuck with me.
Yeah.
That's funny. Okay. So paint a picture for me. When you went to the arcades, would you go like with friends? Were you by yourself? Like, I know what games you went to first, but like when you won things, was there something where you could like get certain prizes with tickets, or like?
Was it
Because I
just the
just
game?
don't. I just don't know how they function compared to like Dave and Buster's.
You know, I've never been to Dave and Buster's, so I really can't.
Oh.
I mean, I don't know how that ever escaped me, but I never made it
Dave
to
and
Dave
Buster's,
and Buster's.
it's literally
So-
just grown-up Chuck E. Cheese. And
Yeah.
you've been to Chuck E. Cheese.
I've been to Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
very similar to the arcades that we would
So,
go to
yeah,
on vacation at
yeah.
the pier. Like
Okay.
very similar to that with the tickets and all. Yeah.
So it really depended on who I went to the mall with. If I went with my folks, it was often either by myself or with one of my siblings that we would go into. And if it was siblings, we just kind of broke off and went for our own stuff. If we were there with friends, and that's more often that I went into the arcade, we'd beeline, and there was a group of about 4 of us, and we would head in. And invariably, we'd play a couple games, but then we'd all migrate. And, you know, one of us would be getting into a game and doing all right, and everybody else would kind of surround them. And, no, you got to do this. You got to no, turn. So, yeah. But it was cool. It just really was. Yeah, you know, you pop that quarter in and you start to learn, okay, there are the layouts that, like with Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Once you get in those early stages, you end up doing it enough because you crapped out pretty early. And then you learn the path you need to take to get you through. And just you know the timing. So how far can you push that blue?
Oh yeah, like the blue power up thing to make the ghosts go blue.
So where you can start eating them to get up to your 2,000 maximum points. And it's like, okay, I can push it. Oh man, I pushed it too far.
Yeah.
But when you're getting up and you're up into, you know, the 4th, 5th level, you're getting up to around 60, 70,000 on the score. For me, now there are some people that are a lot better than that, but
Yeah.
that's when people started gathering, because then that's when it started to get interesting. And you get the crowd behind you. It's like you're a star. Everybody's cheering for you. And it's really cool. But it was, I mean, that's when the arcades were just packed.
Yeah.
And now you go into them, and if you get 5 or 6 people in there, it's like, I don't even know how they stay open.
Yeah, that's what I always wonder.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where I feel like that energy surrounding it is something that's just not because everything with games nowadays is like online games. And it's like cool, that's great. It's easy to connect with. Like if I want to play Fortnite with my brother-in-law, right? If I want to play with Mike, then it's easy enough to do, even though he lives really far away now. But then there's nothing of that community kind of experience,
You
that
lose
visceral.
That energy. Yeah. To go into there, at least back then, and again, I can't speak for today, but if you played the arcade games, there was no benefit. You put in your quarter and you played until you dropped. Your benefit was, if you made high score, you got to put your initials in.
Yeah.
If you didn't make high score, you were done when your quarter, when you lost the game. And if you wanted to get something else, then you went for the skee ball, or you went for whack-a-mole, or, you know, those kind of, you shot the basketball into that tiny hoop.
Yeah.
You can win tickets and get some prizes that way. But if you're gonna play the arcade, you played for the high score. That was your win.
Go for the glory.
You go for the glory. And when you got it, I mean, that was it. And you had people around, cheering. And it was, you know, you'd get to see the same people in there.
Yeah.
Oftentimes we all go, and, you know, oh man, if I could have some of that money back now, I'd probably be a millionaire.
That's funny.
I wish that there were more like community kind of building things where you can like see the same faces over and over, because I feel like those are the kinds of places that you find these buddies that you never ever would have, even if it's just like arcade buddies where it's like, oh hey, look, there's Jim, right? You know,
Yep.
Jim is the king of Donkey Kong, whereas XYZ is incredible at asteroids. And finding those things is something that I wish, not to be like I was born in the wrong generation, because I don't feel like that's the case, because I like video games that come out now very much, but I wish there was more of that arcade kind of culture today.
Well, and that's what I mean, that was really exacerbated in college, because when you got to college they had a small arcade. The same people went in, you know, and I went in, I allotted myself, it was terrible, I allotted myself no more than $5 a week.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I had to make that $5, because if I probably shouldn't have done that much, but but I gave myself $5 a week and go in. And I, you know, at that point I could get a quarter to last me a good 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
Wow.
And which speaks to how much time I wasted.
Wasted's a strong word. I would think it was wasted.
Yeah, well, I survived college. I did not thrive.
Hey, you're doing well now, and that's what matters.
There we go. There we go. Yeah, in college it was Asteroids, the best game that came out, and it came out, I think it was my senior year, so I didn't get to play it as much as I would have liked. But Dragon's Lair, okay, Dragon's Lair was the best, because Dragon's Lair was based off of, you know, it was kind of a Dungeons and Dragons kind of thing. And it was the first one, like Asteroids. If you're familiar with Asteroids, you know, it's just these pins of light. And Pac-Man brought color, and you've got, in Donkey Kong's got some color in that. But Dragon's Lair, it moved you right into the game. Is like a cartoon, and you were the cartoon character, working through this dungeon and fighting the bad guys and the dragons. And you know, I think, actually, I don't know that this is true, but it was like the precursor to a lot of the games that you have, you know. And I can't even think of some of the ones that
almost like a Zelda kind of thing.
Well,
with the action.
Yeah. You know, it was kind of the precursor to those, and some of your first person games.
Yeah.
But it was so cool, because it was this vivid color, and it was, the graphics just blew everything else away.
Yeah.
As far as at that time. Now today.
Yeah. But I feel like because I'm very passively aware of Dragon's Lair, and the only awareness I have of it is from Stranger Things.
That's where I know it from. I could not remember. I was like, I've heard of it before.
In the show Stranger Things, which I don't think you haven't watched Stranger Things, right?
I have not.
I think you would thoroughly enjoy it. It's like it has like horror elements to it, but the first episode of every season, like season 1 started with a D&D campaign, and the events of that D&D campaign alluded to the events of the story throughout the season.
Okay.
And season 2 started with them in an arcade playing Dragon's Lair.
Oh, okay.
And the events, what was happening in that game alluded to what was the supernatural stuff that was going to happen in the course of that season, and like so on and so forth.
Oh, interesting.
And so it always starts with those things. And so that's how I'm familiar with Dragon's Lair, is because the characters were having a blast with it at the very beginning.
Yeah. When that came out, that was a hard game to get to, because people were lined up to get there. And I never got the high score there, but it was so cool to play.
Yeah.
It was just so cool.
And I feel like with like seeing how like the arcades evolved would be so interesting, because I feel like it probably was like leaps and bounds from like Asteroids all the way to Dragon's Lair.
I don't ever remember it being in the arcade, but you know, you have Pong, and you start with Pong, and and that was something I'd go over to a friend's house. We never had it, but we'd go to a friend's house and we'd start there. And so then, you level that up to asteroids.
Yeah.
And again, you've just got this black and white screen and these pixels of light as things came down. Oh, what was that other game?
Space Invaders?
Space Invaders.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. Space Invaders was a great game.
Yep.
And so, you have that, but then you move into the Pac-Mans and the Donkey Kongs, and color starts coming in, and it's more definable as far as the visuals go, and the music gets better.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then you get up, you move into the Dragon's Lair and the race cars, and and all of that, and it's just, it was addictive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was just hugely addictive.
Memories.
But then the stuff that you guys started to get into, and there were several computer games that were pretty good as that began to develop, and that really I think became the end of the arcades.
Yeah.
As we know it. Now you've got some of the arcade games in there, but now it's as much about air hockey and skee ball and some of those kind of things.
And you're lucky to get like a Pac-Man or...
Yeah, and your graphics are so good now. I have trouble playing the games today because it makes I get motion sickness. It's just so realistic.
No, that's such a good point. I mean, also just with arcade titles, I've read a couple times that the way that pixels were rendered on old screens was just different, and they had like this type of aliasing or like the blurring between that made things look a little bit more, I don't know, like clearer is kind of the wrong word, but like if
distinct.
For example, if you had like Link from old NES, if you had like that version of Link in the Legend of Zelda on an old CRT, then you could almost kind of see facial features, and the way that the pixels all blended together looked really nice. But then now everything is so defined and rigid and very much a square, and it just gets kind of hard to look at. And so, yeah, I could see how making that jump, even just from playing Pac-Man back in the day to playing Pac-Man now, it just looks different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The original Pac-Man and today it's very, very different.
Yeah.
And like you were even saying this yesterday, we were talking about Allie, because you're playing on the Nintendo 64 right now, and these games are designed with the screens that they were designed for in mind. And so you take something that was meant for a CRT or like an arcade cabinet, and you pop it on an LCD screen, and it just doesn't equate in the way it should, because it's almost too powerful of a machine to handle the game that you're playing it on.
It makes everything too sharp.
Yeah.
Yeah, not my favorite. And it makes fishing in Harvest Moon really hard, but that's off topic. I'm just mad about it.
Which, did you know that CRT TVs are like a commodity now? Like, people desperately want like the old, like big, heavy CRT TVs.
Yeah.
I did not know, although it doesn't surprise me because, we just made everything better back then. And
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Too true.
Too true. Too true.
But yeah, it does go back to that whole idea of animations and the way that things look, and just the way that the game is meant to be played should be played on those older screens. And so when people have tournaments for, say, like Melee, like Super Smash Bros. Melee, that was designed for GameCube, and during that time most households had a CRT. And so when you go to a Melee tournament, they need so many CRT TVs because you can't have a legitimate, really good tournament. From what I understand from our friends who were in the tournament scene, you can't have a legit tournament because they're playing on a screen that doesn't match up the animations and the timing. It's all off.
And so
You
it
gotta
messes
keep
them
it
up.
all authentic.
Yeah, you have
Yeah.
to have it actually be authentic with the real controllers that came out at the time and the real TV that you would have played it on and that it was designed for.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and the tournament scene is so interesting with arcade games too.
Yeah, like Pac-Man and all that.
Yeah. Did you ever enter any tournaments? Was that you? Were you a tournament guy?
No, I was not. I was not into that. They had a couple tournaments at college, and it just never really worked out for me. And and I was I didn't trust myself to do well.
Well,
enough.
fair enough. That's how I would have been.
I would have gone stage fright.
I was good. I got my money's worth,
Yeah.
but I wasn't great.
Yeah.
And there were some people on there. It's like, they're going to be in it. And there's no way I can compete. So
Yeah.
it's like, why try?
You've seen that name on the high score list
Yeah.
before, and you're like,
That's just, yeah.
Yeah.
It takes everything, and all the stars have to align for me to knock that off. And then when I knock it off, they follow me, and they take it right back again. It's really depressing.
Yeah. Their third eye opens. They wake up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat, like someone beat my high score.
Yeah.
It's like, if you could keep your high score for 24 hours, then it's like, yes, that was a legitimate score.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's so funny. Speaking of college,
Yeah.
you said that you played a lot of arcade games. There's another game that you, from what I understand, partook in on occasion.
Perhaps on occasion. Yeah. Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. That was my I was led into that trap as a freshman. So I was young and dumb, and I did not realize what I was getting myself into, but I fell wholeheartedly in love with this game. Yeah, there's a lot of stories around that.
I want to know them all.
No, yeah.
How much time you got?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So we had for the first 3 years I played it, all I did was I was a player.
Yeah.
And in the first year there were two guys, Don and Dave. Don and Dave alternated between who was going to be dungeon master for a campaign, and they would take us through an entire campaign. And back then we didn't have the canned campaign, so dungeon master, all from start to finish, it was whatever their creativity allowed it to be.
Yeah.
And so they created some incredible campaigns, and Don was someone who created the campaign, and they were always hard, but he offered a lot of grace.
Yeah.
And Dave would lure you in, and then sometimes he'd just decide to kill you.
Oh.
It was like, I am God.
Yeah.
And yeah, I get to make the decision. So tick me off and you're dead. It's real easy.
You've stepped too far out of line in this world.
If your character, steps out of character even for a moment, you're dead.
Yeah.
Oh, the role playing was that intense?
Well, yeah. I mean, we had to choose. Are we going to be a lawful good? Are we going to be a chaotic neutral? Or are we going to be a neutral good? True neutral. With Dave especially, if we tried to do something that didn't mesh with who we created ourselves to be, then boom, you're out.
Wow.
It was rough. It took a long time to get a character to advance. But then once they started to advance, man, you were on.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Because I feel like that's... Because we've played campaigns with friends in, like, college and everything. And my good buddy, Tyler, he was always our dungeon master. And he was a very, I would say, gracious.
Oh, yeah.
He was a very kind dungeon master where he wanted us to roleplay. He wanted us to, like, be on on it and invested in really taking the game seriously, but he didn't want us, because we had kind of a wishy-washy group. So I think he was worried that if someone lost their character that they'd worked so hard to build up, that they would just bounce, be like, okay, I'm done. Like, you just took out my level 6, wizard or whatever.
Yeah.
I can't get invested with a new character. And so I feel like for the sanctity of the game,
Yeah.
he would be a little bit kinder and pull his punches a bit. And I would even see the fear in his eyes when he would knock someone down. Like, oh
You
no.
see, and on the other side to that, when we were starting out, maybe one character in 10, one character in 15
Yeah.
would get up to level 3 or level 4. And if you got beyond level 4, then you had a good chance of going somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, they just knocked us off right and left. Like, sucks to be you.
Yeah.
It's like, if you wouldn't have done that stupid thing, you wouldn't be dead.
Yeah.
Don't open a door without checking first.
That's really fun. I mean, it's realistic.
Yeah.
Oops, there was a trap. You didn't find it.
Yeah.
You're dead.
Better luck next time. Go get another piece of paper. Make your new character. Let's
You're
go.
a thief. Sucks, buddy.
Yeah. Oh, you stepped into a pitfall. Oh no, there's spikes at the bottom. You're impaled.
Yeah.
But, okay. So, merciless. Dave was merciless.
He could be. But if you survived, it was always generous.
Yeah.
It was always generous. And I don't know how the game has evolved now, but you advanced by what you brought home. Everything was all about the treasure. If you got a lot of treasure, then you got a lot of experience. If you didn't get experience for your wit or for your character, you got a little bit for fighting. The big experience was in the pot of gold at the end of the campaign. And if you survived the campaign, it was good.
Yeah.
So how long would you say you played? Like, I mean, you started freshman year, so what were you doing? Like, weekly? Like, when were these campaigns happening?
Well,
Nightly.
Oh, no, I think I've asked a troubling
I
question.
think at the beginning, it was probably 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah.
And then Saturday, it was all day. Sunday, we'd get up and I'd go to church or I'd go to work, whichever. I worked in the dining hall.
Yeah.
And it'd be one of those, if I wasn't at dining hall, I'd go to church. And there's, if we're doing full confession, that's where I was going to find my now to be wife. And
Yes.
so we'd do that, and then I'd play in the afternoon.
Yeah.
She'd go study, I'd go play D&D. That's probably why I barely survived. I came out of my freshman year with a 175 GPA and academic probation, and D&D had a lot to do with that.
But on the other side, what level was your character?
I've got a couple good characters that I don't know what they were at the end of my freshman year, but now they're gods. They've been retired. I haven't played for a long time, but you're not killing that character anytime soon.
They're dragon slayers. They are god killers. They are.
Yeah.
They are. It's incredible. I've got a couple characters that by the time I stopped playing had outgrown the printed books. Their level was beyond anything that Gary Gygax imagined a character should have gotten to.
Yeah. That's so funny. How would you balance this, or maybe not even balance, but like how would you scale the stats once they even got past where the book, would you just roll all the same to like add on the stats, or like how would you make it so that they continued growing, because like you run out of spells at some point? But
Well, yeah, and so what we would do at that point, and we just go back and look at how they advanced. When you get beyond what the book is, well, we'll give you 2 more first level spells. We'll give you another, and so you just have multiple spells, and you just continue to go up in hit points according to whatever it was on the last one or two. So the hit points weren't the issue. The issue was finding the right equipment to lower your armor class. I had the arch wizard Alvaton. He was my cream of the crop player, and and his armor class by the time he was finished was like I don't know what was it. It's like a -12. Okay, it's like nothing could hit him.
Oh my gosh.
He just wasn't. He didn't have to worry about anything.
Yeah. Because even if you did, it would like phase through him, I imagine, or something like.
Yeah.
Go ahead, hit me. Go ahead, hit me again. You cease to exist.
Yeah. Good try.
Yeah, but yeah, that took a lot of time, and actually, it almost. I almost didn't get married because of that game.
Yeah, so that's I'm familiar. We are both familiar with this story. So, how did Mom feel about D&D?
I didn't know why she wasn't as interested in it as I was. It was so much fun. She could have been this elven princess, this warrior queen, and she just didn't take to it quite the way I did, and so. We'd been dating for a little while, and I was really starting to fall even harder for D&D. And so I finally decided, it's like, well, you got Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. And well, I got to play D&D. I got to spend some time with her. So I decided that it made absolutely sense. And I hold to this today. Rationally, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I divided my time up. I give her a day. I give D&D a day. I'll give studying a half a day.
There we go.
It worked for me. I mean, it seemed to make sense. She was right there. She didn't seem to think that, she should be equated with D&D, and clueless as I was, it took one of my buddies to say, do you know Susan's mad at you? I'm like, what's she mad at me for? And you're playing D&D too much. I said, what do you mean I'm playing D&D too much? I gave her a day and I'm playing a day. I said, that's equal time. What's the problem? Yeah, that didn't. So we ended up having a conversation about that.
Yeah.
And maybe I backed D&D down a little bit after that and spent a little more time with her. But if you're going to advance your characters, you got to put in the time.
Yeah, exactly. Just like with anything in life.
That's right. That's right. If you want to pass college, you got to put in the time.
Yeah.
Well,
College got half a day, okay? Let's not be greedy.
Hey, I have redeemed myself since then. I have proven that I can learn, I can move on in the academic world, but that was not when I was proving.
I mean, having a doctorate, no slouch, no slouch.
Yeah.
There is hope.
Yes.
There is hope.
But I feel like this sounds insane, but I feel like D&D genuinely gives you practical skills in life with the improvisation element of it. So like I was looking at because I work at the school, and one of the students at the school was talking about how he plays D&D and he plays as a player and he is a dungeon master, and how through D&D he has gotten way better at thinking on his feet in social situations and in public situations, because you have to improv so much in those D&D sessions, because you never know what your doofus friend is gonna do beside you. Oh, he just alerted the entire army of goblins to your presence. Like, what do you do? Or like in those like negotiation moments. So I will argue to my last breath that there is tangible skills that can be had from Dungeons and Dragons.
I would absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
You know?
I hated doing the DMing. So
Yeah.
when I started taking a turn as dungeon master, I loathed it because I was not that very detail oriented kind of person. And so dungeon mastering was very difficult because you have to create this whole process and what's going to happen here, and here, and what are the alternatives if, you know, the roll of the dice puts you here or they do something unexpected. And so I didn't do well with that, but man, it did make me think in different ways. But where I found a lot of joy in it was, in the creativity and the fact that our DMs were very deliberate about making you stay in character. Okay, whatever this character was that you created, you had to stay within the character. And so that allowed me, at least, to experiment. Okay, things that I would never even consider saying, never even consider doing to another person. I do it in D&D.
Yeah.
I had a hobbit thief named Fimo, and
Yeah.
Fimo was. I still use Fimo in a couple of the games that I play on my phone. That's my username is Fimo.
That's
So cute.
I
I
love
loved it.
that.
Fimo was this chaotic, neutral hobbit thief. Okay, well, Fimo, was 3'8".
Yeah.
And this little Lord of the Rings kind of hobbit who was just nuts. He would do, he didn't care. He figured it out.
Yeah.
And I'm just the opposite
Yeah.
of that. I'm 6'3" and this tall drink of water. And how does a short person do this? But even more importantly, he doesn't care about anything. He's okay, let's go try whatever. That began to open up possibilities for me to say, okay, maybe I don't have to be timid in doing this. Maybe I don't have to worry so much about, different things and just playing the different personalities of every one of my characters had a different personality. And some of them were, focused around lawful good. Everything's, got to be right. And I couldn't get into the evil. Because that just gave me the heebie-jeebies. Although I did have an assassin. I kind of justified that he wasn't really evil. He was one of the good guys just taking out some of the bad
Robin
guys.
Hood.
So,
Robin Hood.
King of Thieves.
Yeah.
There you go.
So there is a place for role playing that really does provide tangible results in the real world. One of the years we were there, a whole bunch of us went out to one of the local parks and we rented a cabin, near our college. And so we went out there and we were just having a good time. We weren't actually playing D&D.
Yeah.
Okay. We were there was a bunch of us got together. We went out, we were just enjoying ourselves and we went for a hike. Okay.
Yeah.
And we got out and we were following these other people who supposedly knew where they were going.
Yeah.
And they ended up about an hour and a half into the hike. They had no clue where we were. So we're out in the middle of the woods and they have no way to get back. And so one of the DMs were there. This was another one. This was Bill, who was the DM. And he looks at me and he says, "You've got a ranger, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And I said, "If I get us back, do I get some experience points for that?"
Yeah.
And he said, "That sounds in order. If you can get us back." And so it's like, all right, well, I happen to have a very good sense of direction. It only took us about 45 minutes to get back. So we got back to the cabin and he's like, "That's worth 10,000 experience points. You're on." So I went to my character. When I got back, I wrote in the 10,000 and it's like, yes.
That's so funny.
Real close to the next level up.
That's so funny.
That is so funny. Like, you got a ranger, right? Let's put that.
Bring them home, buddy.
Put your money where your mouth is. Oh my gosh. I feel like, Allie, when we would play D&D, you say, like, characters that don't quite fit your personality.
Oh, I already know where you're going.
I had, for some reason, I would also gravitate towards, like the Hobbit halfling kind of. I don't know. The little guys always kind of
Runs in the family. You guys, you just like little guys.
But I had a halfling bard. His name was Lorty Tea Leaf, and he was just the most awful.
He was obnoxious.
He was the most, well, maybe that's not out of character, but, like, he was the most obnoxious, loud, just rambunctious, like, socially inept character that you could possibly have to the detriment of the party.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, you would think Bard charismatic, like, smooth talker. No, I put none of his skills towards that. I made him very brash and brazen and, like, always said the wrong thing at the wrong time.
Yeah. I feel like a typical bard would be like, slink up to some table at a
Like
at
a
bar.
crooner, kind of.
Yeah, and be like, "Hi, how are you guys doing? What stories do you have to tell me? Like something sly, something sleek." And then you would come in with Lordy Tea Leaf and your terrible accent that would very quickly switch from like Irish to Australian at a moment's notice. And you would just open the door so aggressively and be like, "Hello, I'm Lordy Tea Leaf." Like it was always just the most aggressive and the most bombastic.
And so that was always my character.
Yes.
Or, you said you never went evil. In my latest campaign, I had another halfling. I can't remember what I think he was a cleric.
Oh, no.
But, like, me and my friend, we were hunting down someone who was stealing wine from a cellar. And I jerry-rigged in the cellar this, like, really inhumane booby trap. And then it turned out to be a leprechaun, and he gave us the location of his gold. And I looked at my friend, and he was like, so the leprechaun was like, "So you'll spare us now, all right? You'll spare me, and I'll lead you to the gold." And we were like, "Well, you already gave us the location," and then we just killed him, like, on the spot. Just, like, really. And so I'm either really obnoxious or just, like, a cold-blooded killer. And I don't know what that says about me.
Wow, huh. It does answer a lot of questions.
No, yeah. Just really, like, I like to think I'm a overall nice person, but, like, just, like, these random moments.
Yeah.
Like,
This inner Eve.
yeah.
In D&D, a new side comes out.
Did you have a characters that you would like to play, Allie?
I don't remember any of them. I know I really liked playing rangers.
Yeah.
That's all I really remember. And they were always elves. I think I had a Lord of the Rings thing going on.
Yeah.
Where I was just like, I have to be a majestic elf with a bow. That's all I can do. I must just be Orlando Bloom at all times. Really just every character I had was just some form of Orlando Bloom.
Well, D&D that inspired me to read two sets, the Chronicles of Narnia,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
and then also Tolkien's Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And that was long before the movies and all that, obviously, but usually, I would have thought it would be the other way around, that you'd read that and say, "Oh man, that's what Dungeons and Dragons is,"
Yeah.
or similar along that genre. But it wasn't. It was playing that first, and then seeing those books and saying, "Oh, I'm going to lose myself." And that actually started me into, I love to read fantasy books.
Yeah.
Fantasy, sci-fi, those kind of things, all because of this game.
Yeah.
Nice. Aw.
And I feel like that, we mentioned before, rubbing off on me, but I adore high fantasy more than, I I like modern, like, sci-fi or, like, futuristic stuff. Like, I'm into it. Star Wars is cool. I can appreciate all of that. But high fantasy is my peak setting for any video game I'm playing, any book I'm reading. Like, that is the kind of worlds I like to, like, invest in.
Terry Brooks and the Elfstones of Shannara.
Yeah.
That his whole Shannara series, I got the entire series. Love that series very much. That the high fantasy. He's an excellent writer and but again, that I got into him because of this. And cool stuff. Piers Anthony, another great writer.
Yeah. I remember when I was young, I remember watching you and Paul, for the listeners, that's my brother, you and Paul playing D&D, and you were DMing and Paul was playing. I remember that you would do this like on a weekly basis or maybe like a bi-week. I can't remember how. I was young and I was like, that sounds really cool, that thing that they're doing. And so I think I just like toddled up to, I was like 8 or 9 or 10 or something. I like stumbled up to the table. I was like, can I play too? And eventually you guys were like, yeah, sure, come on, like, let's play. And it was so much fun being able to play that with you guys.
Aww.
Because I think Paul gave me some of his characters just to like jump start me. And I remember being in this like dungeon and I felt like this, and we got trapped in a room by a red dragon who was like in human form. Right?
Yeah.
And we're stuck in this room, and I remember this was like my first involvement was, I thought I was a genius. I think I just rolled well, but like I thought I was a genius at the time, and we were looking for a key, and I was like, what if it was under the door? And we like checked under the door because Paul had checked everywhere else conceivably in this room, and it hadn't been there, and we found it, and I was like, I've unlocked my meaning in life. Like
in that moment, 9-year-old John found meaning.
And like there's another, I only remember doors for some reason. There was another moment where I was like, what if we were trying to find like a door, like a way out of this room, and there was like a solid wall in front of us, and I was like, what if we splashed water onto it? We rolled, and you're like, yep, it uncovers a door, and I'm like, I'm a genius.
Yeah, that's what I regret about all that, is that because I didn't like DMing, we eventually stopped playing.
Yeah.
And I regret that to this day, thinking, oh man, and Paul continues to play today.
Yeah.
He meets with a group of friends almost every week.
Yeah.
To play, and you're into it, and I know you guys did in college, and now that's very similar to some of the games you guys are playing.
Yes.
The very first video game of D&D that I played was Pool of Radiance, and Pool of Radiance was it was back on an Apple IIe. You guys probably don't even know what that is.
I'm sure I might recognize it if I Googled it.
If I saw a photo, I'd be like, I've seen that one before.
Or maybe not.
It was, I think, literally, it was the second personal computer that Apple put out.
Yeah.
It was pre the first Macintosh was the first one that came out that really took on popularity. As on Apple IIe, Pools of Radiance was on a 5 1/4 floppy disk.
Yeah.
And I would put that in, and it was very pixelated. But it would run you through this dungeon, and you'd run into all kinds of things, from orcs to goblins. I had a lot of goblins. But orcs, and if you made it to the end, you get to fight the dragon. It took a few hours to process through there, but my brother would come down. That was before you were born, and he would come down, and we would go into my office, turn on the Apple IIe, and then we would just take turns going through this Pool of Radiance was the name of it.
Yeah. That's so
fun stuff. It
That's
was
so
just
fun.
so cool.
And I feel like being able to share that with your brother, I know you've had this experience too with like your sibling, but
Yeah.
like growing up, my core memories, like Paul influenced the vast majority of my taste in video games. And so like being able to share that with like him and like you and like Megan growing up to she fell out of video games after a while, but like some of the most fun things.
Yeah, and I like seeing how it can bring different people together where you're like, oh, you're player one, I'm player two, and no, actually, we're both going to fight over being player one kind of thing. And I don't know, now you got to get back into it with Baldur's Gate 3. That's
Yes.
what
Well,
Paul keeps telling you.
Paul has been pushing me to do that, and so who knows? Christmas is coming. I have. I've been looking at it and thinking this could be kind of cool, and it works. Although I have a MacBook and it works on a MacBook, but it's not necessarily designed for the MacBook. So
Yeah.
so they created it to work on the program, but it doesn't. From everything I've read, it doesn't. You know, it would do better if I had a good PC gaming computer, but I'm very intrigued as I look at the game, and you know, the problem is I know how addicted I can get.
Yes.
I don't retire for a few years yet.
But see, no, you gotta get in your own brain and be like, no, I have to play with my sons and I have to work with their schedule. And John's busy, so you know maybe you wouldn't play as much. Maybe I don't know.
both you guys and Paul are late night people.
Oh, very true.
I'm an early bird. Okay, so if you'd like get up at 5:30 or 6. Oh, I'd be more than happy to play. But I'm usually done by 10 o'clock.
Interesting.
But that does give a solid 4 hours between work and 10.
Yeah.
So like, or like weekends, Saturday is for Baldur's Gate and you can hang out with mom on Sunday.
We just full send, go right back to your college days.
Just full reversion.
So yeah, I work until 7:30 on Saturday night. When I'm done working, it's Baldur's Gate 3 time.
Yeah. That's so funny. No, but
you can talk to your mother about that.
Well, man. I'll let Paul broach that one. He's the older brother, so he can handle it.
He's known her longer.
Yeah, exactly. There's a rapport there.
Yeah.
But I love games like Baldur's Gate 3, and we even played growing up, like you, me, and Paul. We on the PS2, we had figured out that 3 controller configuration, because usually PS2s can only have the 2 controllers, but we figured out we had that adapter.
We had adapter. We could have gone to 4, but
and we played Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. Are you familiar with that game, Allie?
No, not at all.
It's kind of like a Diablo-esque looter game where you go through the dungeons and like the enemies drop gold and then you go back to town and buy all your stuff and
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that was great. I loved playing that, but that also showed me that I am out of my element with you two, because I'd get the snot beat out of me, and you guys were always coming back, and okay, we'll come back, we'll revive you. I don't know how many times you guys came back to revive me. It's like, come on, Dad, keep up. No, we're going this way.
That's so funny. You rocked in the Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers game, though.
I did like that game. That was a good game. That was a good game. I love playing that game.
Oh, that's so funny. But, well, Ellie, is there anything else you wanted to talk about today?
No, I mean, we usually wrap up the podcast with what are you playing, what are you watching?
Oh,
but
yeah,
you're
I got so invested in, like, the...
You were, but I don't think you're playing very much right now, are you?
I am not.
No, you like mobile games. What mobile game are you on?
I do. Well, I've got... Oh, shucks. no, what's the name? It's actually a D&D game that I spend most of my time on, and I'm trying to remember what the name of it is.
No, yeah.
Even War Dragons.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, I'm into War Dragons right now, and you build your dragons, and you've got this whole repertoire of dragons in your stable, and it's broken out into variety, and then you've got your base, and so you've got to build your base that needs defended, and it's pretty cool. But so I just joined a new team because I had taken a break for a while.
Yeah.
And taking that break, I got bumped from my old team, which
Oh.
is understandable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't helping them anymore, and kind of left them in a lurch, and I just overplayed.
Yeah.
But I've been back on for about a month and a half now, and so I picked up a new team called Dragon Spite, and some neat players.
Yeah.
I'm starting to get there. I'm 409. My level's 495, which isn't too bad. But the leader of the group is 596, and we've got somebody that Dark Clement's out there. He's at 704 levels. So 495 doesn't sound. But it's moving along. We got some good dragons, and we fly high, and they go through a series of challenges every week, and you get so many points for how many bases you shoot down, and how many dragons that you hatch and build up, and it's fun.
Yeah.
But that's the game that I'm kind of into right now. But yeah.
Are you watching anything right now, or just same old, same old?
It's almost Hallmark season.
Yeah.
Entire 180. This man is working on a 400 level dragon mobile game, and then also Hallmark movies.
Yeah. So we do some Hallmark season. That's our a lot of times it's our Saturday night. Actually, it's our every night TV during the Christmas season.
Guilty pleasures.
Never in a million years would I have pulled myself out as a Hallmark person. But hey,
sometimes you just need that
just
good,
go.
mindless TV.
They're cozy.
Good feel.
It gets you in the Christmas spirit.
There you go. So other than that, if I'm on the TV, I'm watching one of two things. I'm either watching the spaghetti westerns, Gunsmoke and Rawhide and those things, or right now your mom and I are into Ted Lasso. And that's Mike's fault.
Yeah.
We went out to visit Mike and Megan and the grandkids, and we were talking about Apple TV, and I'm an Apple guy. I mean, for everything, but I'd never gotten onto TV, Apple TV, and Mike's like, if you're on Apple TV, you have got to watch Ted Lasso. And so he pulled it up and he put it on, and I think we binge watched in the 2 days we were out there. I think we put in a whole season.
Oh, wow.
It was like nuts. What in the world are we doing? And so when we got back home, we signed up for Apple TV, and now we're watching Ted Lasso. We're into the third season already, and so that's what we're watching right now.
Nice.
So yeah. Never miss an opportunity to watch Lord of the Rings when those come on. Harry Potter, when it comes on, I'll sit down and watch that. And
Allie, where are you playing right now?
Right now, I already kind of teased it earlier. I'm playing Harvest Moon 64, which is a farming sim game. And so there's, how do I describe this? There's this one feature in the game where you get a photo album, and every single time you do anything big in the game, like get married, have a baby, win the cow festival, win the horse race, like anytime you do something big, it was kind of like one of the first adaptations of like an achievement system that they have for like PlayStation or Xbox now, where, you know, anytime you do something big, you get a little photo and you put it in your photo album. And for the longest time, no one could figure out how to get that last photo. They didn't know how to unlock it. And a couple years went by, people figured it out eventually and then fought for years over, do you need 385 plots of grass on your farm, or do you need 386? And so, you know, they fought for a while, but they have it all figured out now, and I am creating my own guide and doing a 100% playthrough of Harvest Moon 64 so I can get all of the photos. I want all of them. It's very hard to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote
That's
myself a guide, and I have every single day planned out. Like on spring day 5, I'm gonna go out into the woods and I'm gonna forage and pick up berries and then a flower, and I'll give the flower to a girl named Maria, and I'll give the berry to the bartender so he can give me a special wine. And like, I have every day planned.
Yeah, she has an entire guide that she
You would make a great dungeon master.
You would.
Actually,
You genuinely would.
see, I don't really like playing D&D, but I feel like I'd be good on the dungeon master side.
You could be good at leading it.
What you
Yeah.
just said there, absolutely. Oh, you would rock.
Interesting.
You would rock a dungeon.
Because you
Yeah.
are a planner.
Yeah, I do like planning. Planning is my hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like setting up events and making sure they go well, and you're very focused on like people's experiences.
Oh,
It's-
yeah. But
you know?
no, I would make it my personality, though. I wouldn't do anything else.
I mean, it's a good.
I would wake up in cold sweats, like, how do I make sure that our friend has a good time playing D&D?
Is 6
Yeah.
goblins too much? They're only level 1.
I know, honestly, that would be my whole brain.
Yeah.
There would be nothing else.
Yeah, but that's the great thing about being a DM. As you're going through, you get to decide. Oh, that one just got so stressed in the middle of this battle, he dropped dead. They don't have to worry about it. Now you only got 5 goblins.
That's true.
You know?
You know, that's a really good point.
Suddenly I'm understanding why a lot of goblins would die in front of me. I think I looked a little too stressed while we were playing.
Yeah, that's so funny.
But that's what I'm playing. We're watching this one anime called Spy Family, which is very, very good.
The premise is that there is a spy as the father, an assassin as the mother. They don't know that they are a spy and an assassin, and their young daughter that they adopted is a telepath, so she can read minds. Mm-hmm. And so they got married out of convenience because she didn't want to get caught being an assassin, and because he's a spy in like a foreign nation, he needed a cover too. So it was a marriage of convenience for them, though they didn't discuss that with each other.
Right.
It just happened that way. And they adopted the daughter to look like an unassuming, like, nuclear family.
Yes.
And she can read both of their minds. So she knows that the dad is a spy and that the mom is an assassin.
Yes. And we're waiting for the day that the mom is asked to assassinate the spy.
Yeah.
Because that's totally gonna happen.
It has to.
It
We
has
don't.
to
We are
happen.
unspoiled, but it has to happen.
Yeah,
And-
yeah.
but it's a very fun, like, cute show. You wouldn't think it sounds aggressive, but like it's a fun, like,
Oh, it's very funny.
There was a movie, and I can't remember the name of it. This is where your mother does a lot better than I do.
yeah.
There's a movie where both husband and wife are assassins.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's it. And yeah, and then they've got to go after each other and eliminate each other. Sounds like,
Yeah.
but that telepath throws a whole new
I
wrinkle.
know.
And the
into,
fact that it's the kid.
Yeah,
And she's
yeah.
just like,
what do I do with this?
It's so funny.
That's pretty cool.
So that's what we're watching right
Yeah.
now.
What are you playing?
I'm playing, it's a game called Persona 5 Tactica. So it's like a strategy kind of game where you have your characters and you're on a board and you have to, it's a turn-based thing where you move your characters, almost like extreme chess kind of deal. And you have to make sure that your characters are undercover so that if there's opposing fire from the other team that they don't get hit or like reduce the damage. And it's based on Persona, which I talk about all the time on the channel, and it just came out, at time of recording 2 days ago, and I've been obsessed with this game, which is really nice because I was burnt out on Persona for a very long time. Like, I just didn't like playing it or engaging with it too much for a while because I did it too much.
Yeah.
But this is full sent, like, got me back into it. And I am borderline obsessed with this game. So hopefully it lasts a little bit.
Yeah.
This is my D&D.
There you go. There you go.
But yeah, and then the listeners know I'm watching One Piece, and I'm still watching One Piece, and I will be for the next year.
Yeah, you will. You're on, what, like episode 300 something?
400.
Oh, no, it got worse.
Episode 400.
Out of like 1,000, whatever.
Yeah, there are 1,030 some episodes, something like that, and I'm on episode 400 right now. So we're almost halfway there. That's really what I'm doing.
Heck yeah.
Anything else you want to chat about?
All good.
Well, thank you so much, Dad, for coming on. This was a lot of fun.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. So cool.
And it's nice to have family on for the Thanksgiving special.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving for those who celebrate.
Yeah, if you're in America and you celebrate, happy Thanksgiving. If you're not in America, then happy November, I guess.
Have a great Thursday.
Yeah, have a great Thursday. That would do it for this week's episode of ThoughtCast, a video game podcast. If you want to hear more episodes just like this one, and you want to hear them early, make sure to check out our Patreon. Subscribe to us on YouTube. And if you want to keep the conversation going, make sure to join our Discord server. There are a lot of really awesome people where you can talk about what we talked about today or anything else you want. And as always, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, a fantastic rest of your week, and why not even a fantastic rest of your month. And we will see you next week. Later.
See ya.